Okay, well, it seems at least Janet was the source of one of the most unsettling aspects of this case. She becomes a medium for a
Okay.
voice. Okay,
I can see that.
and I'm going to let you listen to a snippet of the voice. So this voice is supposedly emanating from Janet, around age 12 at this time, right? And it is said that her lips weren't moving. I think it's pretty amazing. So here we go. Listen carefully. That supposedly is coming from Janet.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
I think it's quite feasible. I have seen people channel voices from the other side.
Like that?
Like that.
I mean, we're talking about a 12-year-old girl who would have a little girly high voice, and we got a guy sounding in a rough, gravelly, saying,
Yep.
So
I've seen it. I've heard it.
wow.
That's one of the reasons I have a written clause that as a medium, no one is allowed to take possession of my body to give a message. They have to tell me, and I'll give the message.
And now Radio Sydney presents Seeing Dead People, Episode 56, Poltergeist Unmasked, Borley, Rosenheim and Enfield explored. Hey SDP fans, welcome to the second half of our in-depth discussion about the bizarre phenomenon known as poltergeists. In Episode 55, Poltergeists Unmasked, Nicola and Darcy investigated the amazing paranormal events that occurred in a law office in Rosenheim, Germany in 1967. Darcy quickly zeroed in on a troubled young secretary who appeared to be the nexus of numerous peculiar incidents, including psychokinesis, shifting furniture, and exploding lights. Our intrepid pair then started to examine the spooky happenings in Borley Rectory in Essex, England, which began in the mid-1800s and astonishingly lasted into the mid-1920s. We now join Nicola and Darcy in the middle of their visit to Borley Rectory, where several families have been terrified by supernatural occurrences like disembodied voices and footsteps, strange scribblings on the wall, thrown objects, and a failed exorcism. And if that's not spine-tingling enough, Darcy and Nicola finish this episode with a bang by exploring the famous 1970s hauntings in Endfield, England. After our visits to Rosenheim and Borley Rectory, you'll feel right at home with the flying objects, disembodied voices and levitating children. But when you hear the gruff male voice emanating from a 12-year-old girl, you're going to be glad Darcy's right beside you.
Just the story is a monk and a nun eloped or tried to elope and got caught. And that was the trouble. Now you are describing a woman, but you hadn't described her earlier. You hadn't focused in on nun.
It's when you said the nun, it's the image came into my head.
Okay, so you're not seeing it in the picture, you're seeing it in here.
Not yet. I'm just seeing her in my head.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, that's the sort of the lore of this area, that the nun and the monk eloped, tried to elope, they got caught. The monk was executed and the nun was walled up alive.
Oh, what a way to
Can
go.
you imagine doing that? So that's not very nice. In the local convent, I guess, which is probably nearby. So of course everybody, nobody necessarily believes this story, but it's a great tale. There's no doubt.
Yes,
and there's certain thoughts of spookiness going on here. So the Borley Rectory was first lived in by the Bull family, the Reverend Bull and his children. And immediately when they moved in, they started to see ghostly figures and they saw the nun going across the lawn. They heard footsteps, they heard voices. And amazingly enough, they just kind of learned to accept this and didn't make a big deal out of it and continued to live there pretty happily. So then the Reverend Bull dies. And let's have a look at a second picture of the same rectory in photo number 9, Darcy, and tell us if you see anything else in this more close-up shot of the rectory than we had in the
Well,
past. You see anything in this one?
I can see
This
a
one-
man and a lady in the trees, and the lady, they must have changed their clothes when they were going to run off, because he's in a white shirt. She's got a little hat on her head. Over to the side, I can again, inside of the entrance where they have the little arches on the outside, there's a person on the right hand side, and it's like he's watching. Oh, look, there is. So they would have worn, the monks there would have worn that hood over their head, right?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, because they're in right before you go through the center one, to the right of the center.
Okay.
There is a monk standing right there, and there is something that resembles a man or a woman, and in the tree to the right of the house. The two people that I see are in the tree to the left of the house.
Wait.
There-
Where the number 9 is that where the people are, or the other side?
they're spread out. So
Okay, but are you
Okay.
is your nun
yes,
monk?
so
on
where you're
mine?
stand, what you have up right now, I see
Yeah.
a person standing next to the image of a horse.
Yeah, there's something there, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then if you go over, no, other way. Stop. You went too far. Okay. There is a monk. You can see the darkness of the hood, the hands in front, in
Oh,
this
cool.
first arch. And now,
Are you talking right there?
yes, right there. And then
Okay.
there seems to be an image in the window right in the center. Sort of feel like it's female.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
now if you
mean
move,
up here somewhere, right up here.
yeah, in that window right there. Now, if you move over,
yeah.
okay, and if you
All
move
right.
the photo over a little more,
Okay.
see the man and the woman in the tree.
No. Where
Okay.
are we? There's kind of a white
Where-
blob at the bottom.
No, that's the white blob at the bottom. It's up higher.
Okay, up higher. Right
Right-
there.
Yeah, right there. There's a man and a woman
This area
Yep.
here.
right there where your
Oh.
finger is. And then if
Oh,
you go up higher, you'll see
Okay.
someone holding a book open, and it's like they're reading the book.
How high are they?
Just if you go from that blob you showed and just go straight up,
Okay.
it's right there. Looks like someone holding a book, reading a book, and you can see part of a face.
Oh, now I see it. Oh my God, that's cool. So you're you're able to distinguish so much from what I consider to be just blobs of light and dark. That's amazing. Okay. Okay. So lots of things go on in this rectory. All right. They get typical poltergeist stuff. Objects are being thrown around. There's mysterious knocks, bells ringing, even though their wires are cut. But there's no one person who seems to be the focus here, Darcy. There wasn't a person, as far as I know, in the Bull family. Now we have a family called the Smiths, and it doesn't seem to be a person in the Smith family. And then we move on to the last family in this house called the Foysters, and they get all kinds of weird things. Plus, they get writing on the walls.
That is so cool.
So that brings in one of the most famous parapsychologist type investigator of all, is a guy named Harry Price. And he was really a big time charismatic figure in ghost hunting in the 20s. And he was known to be very dramatic, but he was also known to be a meticulous investigator. So he comes in with the usual equipment, cameras, thermometers, infrared technology even. And he got people to stay at the rectory, volunteering overnight and record experiences. Lots of people said they did experience stuff, but of course we know that we can all be kind of convinced to see and hear stuff when we get into that situation. So But what seemed to be the thing that really struck people was this writing on the walls. And it was often pleads for help and directed to the wife of the rector of this time named Marion. Funny, we had Anne Marie, the other one, yeah. Marianne, opposite names here. And her name was Marianne, please get help. Marianne, help me. These were written on the walls. Now, do you believe that was actually something that actually happened, or do you think that's sort of starting to be a bit of a hoax going on here?
It can happen. Okay. But the fact
really?
they called it, yeah, it can. But the fact they called her by name makes me wonder.
Oh, okay. Why do you think that?
Well, because they wouldn't go to that trouble to single out a name. That's a lot of energy they have to use to write out the name. So I could see them writing help me. Okay, but I can't. I'll question the fact they wrote out her name.
Okay. Well, Harry Price's investigations caused great excitement and great media attention. And of course, a lot of debate. Was this legit? Was it not? Was Harry pushing the envelope, so to speak, a little bit? Nobody really has answers to it, of course, but those were the discussions at the time. And then 1939, the place burns down. Well, not burns down, the place burns. It's hard to burn down a brick building. Yeah. And have a look at image number 10, which is Borley Rectory in 1944. So after it's sadly been burnt badly. Oh, there she goes again.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely been burnt.
Do you still see anything untoward, haunting, spirit like in there?
I can feel the inner. Yeah, there's a man there. Whoops. I was going to say I can feel energy, but a man in a white shirt, black pants, and a hat. I can see him.
Where's he?
In the center.
Okay. Oh, right there?
Yeah.
Okay. I just see a blob, but I can sort of imagine it could be a person. Okay. So in this picture, you still think there is poltergeist energy?
Yeah, just because the building burns down doesn't mean they leave.
Well, that was what I was wanting to ask you. I mean, what happens if the building burns down? Does the poltergeist energy still remain?
No. Yes. Just because the building burnt down doesn't mean they leave, because their energy is still there. It's still attached to the land. And I'll use a really good example. My friends bought a cabin up somewhere in 100 Mile House. They asked me to come up for a visit. Okay. And I thought, okay, so I drove up there and they never said boo to me. And I went to bed that night and I was the knock, 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 the door opening, footsteps outside my door. And then all of a sudden the door bangs open. This gentleman in dingy underwear jumps onto my bed and starts screaming at me and telling me I didn't belong there. I sat up and went, I don't need this shit. I closed the door and I went upstairs and slept on their couch. So in the morning, when they got up, they didn't know I was on the couch. Right. And they started making coffee and they went, well, I wonder what time she's going to get up. I said, I'm already here. And I said, why didn't you tell me? They went, well, we just wanted to know if you could see them.
Well, obviously you could see them, but you've told me in the past, whenever you go into a new location, you protect yourself with the white egg, I call it.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you do that when you went to this place?
I did, but what happened is when I go to sleep, the egg might disintegrate a little. And what it was is there had been a cabin on that property right where that bedroom was. And it had burnt down with him in it. And as far as he was concerned, they burnt. I didn't see him burnt. So there's a deal I have with ghosts. I want to see how you would have looked in life, not how you died. And so They said that they'd had knocking in, they could hear the bedroom and everything, but they thought they were imagining it.
Okay. But when you first came there and went into the house, this is what I find interesting, is you didn't have an intuition that there was
No,
something.
because it wasn't. I had the light switch off, so to speak. So when I go out, I turn in my head a light switch off so I don't get disturbed. And the idea was to go up, have a relaxing weekend. I did have a relaxing weekend after I had a little talk to him and told him to get lost.
Wow. And so has he gone, and has the disturbance left the cabin?
This disturbance has left.
Oh, good.
All he
So, but you
needed
got
to
no
know.
sense from him why he was there, what he was angry about, because he got burnt? Is that what he was taking
Well,
off?
no, he was angry because someone took his property.
Ah, yeah. Okay. And
it was his home. Now, I don't know if he knew he was dead. And that is another thing. Sometimes poltergeists do not know they are dead.
Wow. Well, you know what's funny? When we had that discussion with Dinah, the gal in North Sandwich, we actually went to visit a house here in North Sandwich, and it was haunted. There was a poltergeist guy, and you had described him as someone who lived in that place. It was his home, and he felt it was still his home, and he was ticked off that he was not able to have his home. So it sounds like your guy in 100 Mile House.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad his 100 Mile House guy is gone for your friends. Me too. Okay, so back to Borley Rectory then. Is this a legitimate incidence of real poltergeist activity, which happened over many years with different people, but no focused individual? Is this still a poltergeist?
I would say it's a poltergeist occurrence.
Okay, so number 2 out of 2 so far. We're back.
Yep.
All right.
Maybe not 100. Just let me say this. Maybe not all of it was, but there's still a disturbance in that house.
Okay, because you're a bit leery about the writing on the wall with the name Mary Ann and thinking that might have been somebody pushing it a bit much.
Yeah, because I've seen writing on the wall. I've seen writing on the ceiling, and they never use my name. So they just write out the message. And normally it's 2 words. That's it.
Like, help me get out, whatever?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Oh, neat. Well, we'll have to examine that discussion sometime. Okay, so moving on to our third, but certainly no less of an event than the other 2. If you'd look at photo number 11 for me, and I can show the audience this photo. I can't show the rest of them, but I can show this one for this story. Okay, and we have, I want to make sure I can, there we go, Council House in England, 284 Green Street in Enfield, which is northern London.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a look at that and tell me what if you feel anything before we even talk about this story about this little council house.
Well, I'm going to say at this point, I don't really feel anything. It's different than the one on the left of it, but it just feels like a council house at this particular time.
Okay, cool. And I'm not sure when this photograph was taken, so it'd be interesting to see if the timing was anything to do with what's happening. Okay, well, we're talking the late 70s. We're in Enfield, as I say, northern London. It becomes the epicenter of really one of the most debated poltergeist events in history. What begins as a few knocks at night escalates into a full-blown paranormal saga involving levitating furniture, disembodied voices, a frightened family, desperate for answers. It captivates the public with newspaper headlines, investigators flocking to the home. But with all great ghost stories, of course, it's got a lot of controversy involved in it. So if you look at photo number, so we should just say I was able to show the audience of the house. It's a little end house, stucco, half brick, pretty modest looking.
Yeah, a typical council house.
Yeah, in England. Look at photo number 12. Now, I can't show the audience this photograph, but we have a family, a nice kind of a fun family shot. And if you have a look at this gal, it's a mom and her 4 kids. It says 1977. The mom's name is Peggy Hodgson. She's a single mom. She's living in 284 Green Street, and she has 4 children who are shown in this picture. And we're going to show you. So on your upper left, no, sorry, go to the right, and we have Margaret on the far right. On the far left is Janet. So they're on either side of the mother. Okay.
Okay.
And then the 2 boys in the front. The oldest boy is on the right. His name is Johnny, and the youngest boy is named Billy. And they're all under 14. Margaret's 14, Janet's 11, Billy's 7, and Johnny is 10.
Yeah.
So they're a pretty typical, lower middle class or lower class family in London. They're struggling to make ends meet. Of course, she's a single mom. And then something happens at the end of August in 1977. They start hearing strange sounds. The kids, 2 of them in their bedroom, Janet and Johnny share a room. And the mother comes in and she witnesses something pretty shocking. A chest of drawers slides across the room on its own. She steps in trying to stop it. Can't stop it. It seems to keep pushing against her. What do you think? Are you getting any sense? Let's look at these children in photo number 12. You get any sense of Peggy, the mother, and the 4 kids?
Okay, like you said, normal looking family, nothing distinguishing about them, except for Johnny in the front. He seems a little troubled. And so does Janet. So maybe
she's in the far left, right?
Or left.
Yep.
My guess is Janet probably can see ghosts. And Johnny just looks, like he's 10. He's not even close to puberty yet.
No.
But
10.
yeah, I mean, to look at them, they're a normal family. But I would think Johnny may have emotional issues.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, over several months, this little council house becomes a hotbed of paranormal activity. So furniture's being overturned, toys are being tossed about, cold drafts. And one member of the family seems to be the epicenter here. You probably imagine it's going to be one of the children because it always is someone's younger or troubled or teenage kind of years. And we have a few of them here. I'm going to show you another photo of the 4 kids before I ask you. So here's photo number 13. We got another fun shot of the 4 kids. They seem to like taking these sort of fun shots. We have now Janet as far left. We have Margaret. She's the eldest. We have the littlest, Billy. And then we have your guy you think is a bit troubled, Johnny on the outside right. When you look at these 4 kids, who is the epicenter of this poltergeist activity, if anyone is?
Well, I'm torn between the girls. I want to say it. Janet is the one on the far left, right?
That's right. She's one on the far left. Exactly. The closest to us in the audience. Yeah. You think it's Janet?
Yeah. Oh, this is going to be tough because between Janet and Johnny, it's between the 2 of them.
Okay. Is it possible it is the 2 of them?
It's very likely, yes.
You could have 2
people
going through emotional times and causing this activity?
Oh, and it would be even more intense activity.
Right. Okay. So I didn't know if it'd be possible to have 2 energy levels happening in the house that could manifest into a poltergeist activity.
All 4 of those kids could manifest it into a poltergeist activity.
Okay, if that's the case, then why would it start? And then why would the others join in?
Well, first of all, it could be, well, they're in London. There's been bombing and everything there. So it could be anyone who got, during the wars, got killed or injured. They could be going through an emotional time because we don't know, is it just them and their mom because dad died, dad left, and that's a huge emotional thing for kids.
Right, exactly.
So,
yep.
But yeah, I'm really torn It's really weird. I know that's supposed to be something else, but there looks like there's a snake around
Oh
Margaret.
I think it's some kind of
Yeah.
scarf, I guess, or a
Yeah.
belt or something. Yeah.
Something.
Well,
But
okay, go ahead.
but I'm going to take it that's Margaret's hand over Johnny's head, right?
That's
Okay.
my guess. And her arm is around her sister Janet. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That looks
yeah, I'm torn between the two in particular.
okay. Well, it seems at least Janet was the source of one of the most unsettling aspects of this case. She becomes a medium for a voice. Okay.
I can see that.
And I'm going to let you listen to a snippet of the voice. I'm going to use it as fair use because it's being used everywhere on the internet. And I'm going to warn you in advance, you're going to hear two male voices. The original recording has a space between one male voice and then the answering male voice of about 15 seconds. So I decided to cut that out. I don't see we have to do a crackling sound for 15 seconds, but I'll tell you, it was there. I'm going to listen to the voices. Then I'm going to stop and give you a transcript. We're only talking about 10 seconds or 15 seconds here, but it's hard to hear, to understand. And then we're going to hear it again. And then we'll talk about it, okay?
Okay.
So this voice is supposedly emanating from Janet, around age 12 at this time, right? And it is said that her lips weren't moving. I think it's pretty amazing. So here we go. Listen carefully.
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died. Just before you died and just after you died. Years before I died, okay. I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage and not fell asleep. And I died in a chair in a corner downstairs.
Okay, I know that's hard to hear. I will tell you what was said, and then you get to hear it again. Okay, so the interviewer says, or asks, I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died, just before you died, and just after you died. Then there's 15 seconds of space that I've cut out, and a gravelly voice responds, days before I died, I went blind. Then I had a hemorrhage and I fell asleep and I died in a chair in a corner downstairs. Okay? So now we're going to hear it again.
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died. Just before you died and just after you died. Years before I died, okay. I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage and not sleep, and I died in a chair in a corner downstairs.
Now that supposedly, I mean, that's an original audio recording of the time. Okay, we're supposed to accept the legitimacy there. That supposedly is coming from Janet.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
I think it's quite feasible. I have seen people channel voices from the other side.
Like that?
Like that.
I mean, we're talking about a 12-year-old girl who would have a little girly high voice, and we got a guy sounding in a rough, gravelly English accent, probably northern or whatever, London accent, saying, I went blind and I had a hemorrhage, died in a chair in a corner downstairs.
Yeah.
So
I've seen it. I've heard it.
wow.
That's one of the reasons I have a written clause that as a medium, no one is allowed to take possession of my body to give a message. They have to tell me and I'll give the message.
And when you say a written clause, you mean you're talking about you and the spirit
Yes.
in your head. There's not really a written clause. You're just saying whatever you
No,
have
I
done.
put it on paper.
You put it
No,
on paper.
I put it on paper. Just in case any of them can read still.
Okay, we've got to do a show of your experiences, but back to this gravelly voice. So we have a man's voice, obviously not Janet,
Yeah.
right? Has this kid made this up?
No. There's
So
no
this
way
is
she
not
can
a
make that up.
I would agree with you, but I'm just asking, is it possible this voice belongs to somebody else who's no longer on this earth in a physical form?
Absolutely. 100%.
Wow. Okay.
Not just one
Well,
person, but she did too. That's
well,
awesome.
no, she didn't do two. The first voice is the interviewer talking to her, and then the second voice is her. Okay, she doesn't do the first voice.
Oh, I thought you meant there were two people talking through her.
No, I'm sorry. There were two voices, but they were sitting in a room. The interviewer is asking Janet as this person, tell us about what happened when you died, before you died.
Yeah.
That's directed towards Janet. Then what the gravelly voice is what comes out of Janet.
Okay, so at which point I'm going to say then definitely, unless she went on to be a ventriloquist in her life, that was definitely spirit.
Yeah, that's amazing, eh? I think that's really amazing. I really thought that was pretty exciting to listen to.
Yeah.
So after some research, it was learned that this fellow, this voice, and there's more conversations that are with this individual, and he claims to be called Bill Wilkins, and he claims to have died in the house.
Okay.
They did some research, and they actually found Bill Wilkins' son. And what did Bill Wilkins' son say?
He confirmed that he died in the house.
Absolutely. In exactly that manner. Had a hemorrhage, died in a chair, in a corner, in the living room. Unbelievable. Yep. So that's pretty friggin' exciting. I think pretty amazing. So
yep.
At the moment, I'm thinking this is a pretty legitimate case of poltergeist or something. That's a medium. Now, I don't know that poltergeists can go through people. Can they emanate like that? Okay. They don't just throw things around.
Haven't you watched Ghost with
no,
Demi
I've heard
Moore?
of it.
Oh, wow. Oh. Yes. Ghost. That is why I have an agreement that ghosts cannot enter my body.
Yes, I've seen that movie. It's good.
I need to be in control.
Right. But when I watched that movie, I didn't necessarily believe it was happening. I just think, it's movie magic. You're telling me it's believable. So I believe you.
Yes, it is. It can happen.
Okay. Well, as in the other two cases, of course, this caused this whole activity going on in this house with these kids caused tremendous excitement, a lot of media attention. Two men came from the Psychic Research Society. They were both that this was a genuine event of poltergeist activity. They spent a lot of time documenting what happened in the house. However, of course, not everybody agreed that it was real. Some agreed that that it was fraud. It was being faked. And I ask you, did any of the children fake any activities in this house? Do you think it was all legitimate, or do you think there's a possibility, like you mentioned, in the Borley Rectory, that there might have been a little bit of skullduggery going on?
My instinct is to say no. But the practical side of me says I might have taken advantage of it a little bit. But I still hear no.
Okay. Well, we have one famous image that I'm going to show you, and we can't show the audience, but I'm going to show you, that has Janet supposedly levitating in the room, okay, above her bed. Now, I want you to look at it, and then we'll discuss whether it's got any legitimacy or not. Okay, number 14, our last photograph. Is this a photograph of a child forced into the air without her own doing, or is she actually just jumped off the bed and someone's taken a photograph of her in the air leaping?
Well, if you look at her night shirt, In the
Mhm.
back, it looks like someone's got hold of it and has lifted her by her nightshirt. It looks bunched.
Okay, but one could say it's bunched because she's in the air and the nightshirt's just
No, no.
shifting with the movement.
No, that looks like a hand. And those, I know people are going to say this isn't real. Okay.
That's me.
Um,
I'm
that,
one of those people.
okay. But this doesn't look like she jumped because of the way her legs are. It's like she's been lifted up and someone's got her under the legs and by the nightshirt. And that's
Okay,
not
so
a face that looks like, oh, I'm having fun. Okay, that
Okay,
doesn't look like a face.
but if you were Janet and you were gonna fake the idea that you're being thrust up into the air, you're gonna have an expression like that on your face, right? You're gonna try to look horrified, shocked, astonished, whatever.
Yeah, but somehow I don't think the boys were in on it because look at their faces.
They look a little startled, don't they? They're lying in the bed beyond her, just behind her. They do look a little startled. There's no doubt. But again, I mean, the four of them, I think, are a tight knit little group. And you talked about the fact that they could all have energy involved in this, in particular, Johnny. They could all be in cahoots, right? These are, like 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids. So there's a lot of mischievousness that can happen at that age. Well, any age, but certainly in a little cadre like that. They could be in on this. They could go, we're having a lot of fun, getting a lot of attention from the world. People are coming in. We're getting asked questions. We're getting photographed, interviewed. People at school think we're wonderful. We could fake some stuff. Let's try this.
But here's my question. Or here's a statement. Given that single parent, probably doesn't have a lot of income, I doubted they had the camera. So who took the picture?
Good question. I don't have the answer. The only thing is Margaret. Did Margaret have the capability of taking that picture? Did she have a camera? I don't know.
But I don't think they would have had a camera to be able to take that picture. So
Probably.
My guess is they had a camera set up in the bedroom to see what would happen.
Okay.
Sure. She could have jumped off the bed, but there would be imprints of her feet on the edge of the bed if she had jumped off it. There are no imprints of feet.
Good point.
And so I'm not thinking she faked it.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, I had initially just laughed it off, I have to admit, Darcy. After listening to you, I'm, kind of on the fence a little bit. I might lean towards it could be something special, especially your comment, mostly was the comment about the camera, how the picture was taken. That is a really good point because it must have been taken in with some kind of sophisticated equipment or a mounted equipment on some kind of timer or flash or something. I can't see Margaret or the other kids being able to necessarily do that. Maybe the mother could. They didn't have much money, that's for sure. There were, of course, investigators who came in with cameras. So maybe they took this picture. Maybe the kids took advantage of the camera. I don't know. But I'll give you a little bit there that kind of might shove a bit of doubt in my mind that yes, it could be legitimate. So well done, because I was just no way, Jose.
Well, and I'm even trying to think if the picture was doctored. Okay. Part of her body would be missing. No matter how you did it, if you tried to take whoever, say, held her up, that their body, her image, some of her image, her skin would be missing.
I shot because it's not easy to take a picture of someone in the air, is it? And have it it's not actually really that blurry. It's actually a pretty good shot.
And they wouldn't have had the sophistication of the camera at that time to do the snap, 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 snap to actually get a good shot.
Yeah. No, exactly. This is 1970. So really archaic camera abilities in those days compared to what everybody carries around in their hand.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So given all that, are we going to say the Enfield poltergeist was 100% poltergeist activity? Legit?
Legit.
Legit.
I know
Okay.
they're going to debunk it, but I'm saying legit.
Okay. We have some interesting evidence here that the recording of Bill, I guess there's multiple recordings, and there's a lot more on the internet about this case because it was fairly recent and it happened in London. So there's people can search and find out more events, more photographs. Yeah. So, okay, we think it's legitimate. Now, the other question is, was it caused by one person, Janet, or someone other than the children? Or did one child sort of start it off and the other's own energies joined in, or what? I mean, how did this kind of work? Do you think it was more of a group effort rather than the other ones?
No, I don't believe it's a group effort. I do know that any of them could have started it, but at the very beginning, I said I thought Janet could see spirit.
Yeah, you did. You absolutely. Yeah.
I believe Janet's, as you said, a medium, and that with no understanding of what's going on, probably terrified her, probably terrified the other kids. But yes, granted, they probably were a little bit of a celebrity at school, but then again, they could have been outcast. So, I do think Janet being, like I said, being able to see spirit, they picked her because she had the ability. But then Johnny, he definitely has that energy around him that would actually feed to a poltergeist coming through. But Janet became the vessel.
Well, that's cool, because as you're talking, I was thinking, aha, Janet is the medium, but Johnny is the cause. His energy is what's causing the poltergeist activity, but Janet's the one who's able to channel it.
Yeah. But here's the thing. In this particular case, I guess we can use poltergeist, but it's just an old man who died and he wanted to be recognized on, like, to be able to recognize his own death. So he's not so much a poltergeist as he was just someone who was trapped because his death, I think he probably sat there a few days before he was found.
Oh, well, so do you think then Bill Wilkins was the cause of all the activity? It was just this one entity.
I think it was just him. I'm not picking anyone else up in that house.
Okay, when we go back to the Borley Rectory, with the supposed monk, the supposed nun, God knows what else you saw in the trees, would you have said, or would you say there were multiple poltergeists involved?
Yes, because I said I saw the 5 actual people, and then I saw 5 more ghosts.
Right.
So yes,
okay. And
any of them could have
and
been.
how about? All right, fair enough. But how about Rosenheim? Then we have our gal Anne Marie, and lots of things happening there. Was there one entity? We never got to the bottom of the one entity because nobody knows. But was it one entity or more?
The major one was 1, but I feel there were a couple of more because there was way too much activity for just one.
Okay. And you talked about energy coming from another room.
Yeah,
when we were
came
looking
through
at the
another
photo.
room.
Yeah, so possibly another actual location of another law firm or another business. I don't really know. Could have been different. Okay, very cool. So really, we've got 3 for 3.
Yeah.
That's
One
amazing.
is only about 95% because of the was it Marianne on the wall? But yeah, basically 3 for 3.
Okay, then why do they stop?
Sometimes in Janet's case, if she channeled him through and he got to explain how he died, he probably moved on. Okay. The other one, unless they rebuild on the property, it may not be done because we don't know what happened after the rectory burnt and they rebuilt.
Right.
If there's something new on there, there could be, especially, could you imagine the fun I could have with a apartment full of ghosts?
Absolutely.
Okay, so walls are thin for ghosts, so they could go
Yeah.
around and spook whoever they want. So it's feasible. Sometimes the right person has walked in and allowed them to move on.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. The whole discussion's been amazing. I think in the zeitgeist out there, the belief is Rosenheim was scientifically the most documented with credible
Yes.
witnesses, because we're talking a law firm, very staid, very drab in normal cases. So that made it really ring out as being authentic. The Enfield one has so much emotion. As there were so many things we didn't even get to the details of what happened in that house. That seems to be a little more raw, really personal, really human. Really a lot of things deliberately targeting on an emotional level, personal. And then the one that's sort of the old-fashioned ghost story is the Borley Rectory. They have the history of the monastery and the rectory, and then the burning of the rectory. And I don't think now it's even been built on. I don't know. So there's land itself has that ongoing continuation of an energy level that maybe the other two places don't.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Well, cool. I think this has been a fabulous discussion. Man,
Well,
thanks, Darcy. I really enjoyed that. That was great. And I think, as usual, you dinged me at the very beginning, like image number 2. Are we talking poltergeist? Like, I thought I'd have you for a long time before you would get poltergeist. You might say ghosts, and you might say death, and you might say murder, because we always talk about murder. But poltergeist, you hit it really well. So well done.
Okay. Well, and strangely enough, after I went back and looked at 1 through, I had 1, 3, and 4, right? And
Yes.
all of a sudden 2 showed up.
Oh, there you go. It got lost in the ether somewhere.
I think so. So
Okay.
I did. And so I had a closer look and I could see that face on the floor. And that's what made me think of poltergeist. When I can see this face of a skeleton on the floor, those I equate to poltergeist.
Wow. Okay. I don't get that, but I'm glad you see it.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks so much.
All right. Well, you have a fantastic day and Happy New Year's.
Yeah. Thanks. You too. Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll be talking 2025, believe it or not.
No.
Thank you for listening to Seeing Dead People, where goosebumps are guaranteed. We would love to hear from you with questions for Darcy about her psychic process or suggestions for other mystifying situations you would like us to investigate. Please shoot us an email to info@radiosydney.ca with Seeing Dead People in the subject line. New episodes air on our website, radiosydney.ca, on the first Saturday of every month. Episodes repeat Saturday nights at 8 p.m. and Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., both Pacific time. All episodes are available as downloadable podcasts at our website or on our YouTube channel, Nicola Furlong Mysteries. I'm Dorian Mortis, weirdly keen on seeing dead people. This has been a presentation of Radio Sydney.